Hi everyone, my name is Chris Martin. Welcome to Keto with me. It is day 18 on my journey back into keto. New to my channel? Check out my day 0 video. It gives you the insights and reasons of why I created this video series. All right, let's roll the clip. That was it for my day 18 clip. So pretty typical. I'm settling in for a little bit here. Things as far as like the daily pattern is not going to change a lot over the next probably month or two because I'm into this fasting regimen. You're not going to see the breakfast. You're not going to see the lunch. When I break my fast, I'm calling it a snack, but because it's typically smaller. But I look back at the last few days, it's probably closer to a lunch size, but my goal too is to not try to eat so much when I come out of that. But let's get to the numbers first. Yesterday was a Saturday, so I ate a little bit more and was just a little bit more carefree with the carbs. So I ended up eating 21.2 carbs yesterday. My blood glucose was 93, still under 100. Woohoo! And my ketones were 1.7, so that's still really good. So my weight, I'm really, again, I know I told you weight's not my primary, but it's sure nice when it comes off. I lost 1.2. I'm sitting there thinking, because of the number of carbs I had yesterday and stuff, that I was going to step on today and just kind of be flatlined on it and just stay right where I was at, but it was down 1.2, so I'm tickled about that. That gives me a grand total of 16.6 to date. So for 18 days, I think that's pretty good. Let's look at my macro percentages. Well, actually, yeah, the macro percentages. So I was dead on at 75% fat, 5% carb, and 20% protein. And what I mean by dead on is that if you look at the macro percents that to be like, to target for keto, those are the numbers, but realistically, you never hit that all, it's just, I feel like playing the lottery after doing that, because, it's like when you go to the register and you buy stuff at the register and it ends up on an even amount, it's like, oh, maybe I should play the lottery. So, one other thing to mention, before, about the daily, I want to mention actually about the last about 2.5, 3 days, my energy has just been like woof, 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 just going up. Yesterday, I just was like, it felt like I could just go all day long. Matter of fact, I ended up, staying up until like 11, which is, pretty late for me lately. And I had no problems. Prior to that, I would just be like, So the energy is what I've been really seeking. And I'm just so tickled that, that it's finally just coming in buckets. So I'm looking forward to today, to see how much energy I have, and can report back on that tomorrow. So that's it for my day 18 daily recap. Let's talk about my goals. Okay, let's look at week 3 and day 18 and see if my pit of success is still working. right from the get-go, you can see that, as far as sleep goes, I went down from the previous couple days. I went to bed late last night. I got about 6.5 hours sleep. Good news is I didn't wake up once, and I still feel very, very rested. So that puts me in the good category, but I still feel like it's better for me. So moving on to the eating keto, and then specifically fasting to start out with. So as far as fasting goes, yes, I'm still fasting. I'm living in this. I was wanting to do 16/8, and I'm getting a little bit more than that. And I've got my own fasting regimen, which I've talked to you guys about right now. For right now, I'm still doing MCT during those allowable hours, and then electrolytes. So we're going to talk about some tweaks I'm going to make to that, for week 4, which will help me get into a more advanced 16/8 and so forth. But 20 hours and 45 minutes. Again, I said I'm doing 16/8, but I did 20 and 45. That's just because I'm waiting until I'm actually hungry before I decide to eat. So I'm nailing that category. I hit beast mode again. So I'm really tickled about that. Moving on to the style, still dirty clean. A lot of emphasis on clean. I moved it over to the best category because as the week progresses, I'm going to keep moving close, further to the right because I'm very consistent at it. I didn't just, blow everything. So macros, I mentioned earlier, I had 21.2 carbs for yesterday. Really, just happens sometimes on the weekends where I just end up eating a little bit more and so forth. So, because of that, I wasn't able to hit the, anything above good because my criteria for that is less than 30. So I'm still feeling pretty good. My ketones are still looking good, so I'm not worried about it. So I'm just going to, keep for shooting under 20. Good macro percentages. That's my goal. Discussing learning. I watched another. Arguably video and a half because I started to watch one then backed out of it, but it really wasn't that far in. And then today I'm going to share in the video recommendation that learning that I had from it. It's going to be pretty interesting. So tracking, as always on tracking, I got my trusty dusty notebook, got all my details in it, also tracking things in chronometer. Things are going very, very, very well, and I think that's helping a lot. So I'm way in the beast mode category on that consistently. Moving on down to meditation, kind of just my standard meditations for the day, 5 in the morning, 5 in the evening, and consistently doing it. So I'm in the best category for that. No exercise. Like I said, one day it'll come and I'll be ready for it. That's it for my goals, folks. Let's talk about the video recommendation. All right, let's get to today's video recommendation. This is the part 2 to the previous, day 17's video by Dr. Boz that talks about intermittent fasting and so forth. The title of this is OMAD Diet and Intermittent Fasting 16/8, the Ultimate Guide to Keto 2021 Part 2. And I realized as I was looking through her description and comments area that there's actually a part 3. So yeah, we're going to hold off on that one, and I'll give you reasons for that. We're going to, after today, we'll divert and go to probably stuff like, let's talk about like what vegetables and stuff you can eat, because you see that a lot of time on my plate, and you're like, well, how do you know which vegetables to eat, and how can you make them more, should I say, keto friendly, or at least help get your macros where they need to be and stuff. So okay, let's talk about our video. 11 minutes and 36 seconds long. It definitely goes to the next level. So if you watch the one from yesterday, it gets even more detailed and arguably almost too much for what I wanted to share. But my rationale behind sharing these fasting, ketone, videos is because, as you're moving through it, you're going to be asking yourself, what's next? What's next? I'm moving a lot quicker. I'm already keto adapted, I feel, and I've been through this before. So you may take a couple months, you may take 6 weeks. Again, she has a timeline on this, and you know, once you get to there, you'll be like, okay, I feel like I'm ready for the next thing, you know, and so forth. So that's my rationale for sharing that. When you watch this video, she'll talk about, you know, like baseline metabolism, and that's where you want to live at. And then when you're in that baseline metabolism, you want to, you know, like if you're wanting to move up, you know, these are the things, this is the criteria for it, should I say. You know, she has, like, if you do, there's a, you know, like she talks specifically about 16-8 at one point. Well, she's like, this is what you do on 16-8. And, you know, pretty straightforward, right? 16 hours of fasting, 8 hours of feasting, so to speak. And then, you know, but the criteria for your, like, morning coffee and stuff like that, like she even used to do like heavy whipping cream, MCT oil, you know, butter, and those things in her morning coffee. But then when she wanted to, you know, really do it, you know, she moved to more of an advanced 16-8, which she discusses in there. She actually has a you know, number 6 on her continuum is like advanced 16-8. So advanced 16-8 is like, okay, do what you were doing before, but now you got to clean up your coffee. So that really means, when she's saying advanced, she means, you know, black coffee only, tea only, water only, and then you can have salt. And she recommended, and I'm glad she did it because I had forgotten which one she specifically recommended. I thought it was she said the pink Himalayan sea salt in one of the previous videos that I shared with you guys. But she actually said in this video that the Redmond salt, the mineral salt, is actually better, you know, per value, like how much you get. So if you go to Amazon, you bring up Redmond salt and look at their mineral salt, you can just see it's packed full of minerals, and it's not really that expensive. So she's saying, you know, sip on water that has that in it, you know, drink black coffee, water, and tea only. And one other thing too, to be in the advanced category, is like no gum, she says, because gum, you know, triggers that insulin. So she says you can have gum, but it has to be during that 8 hours that you're actually eating. So she goes further, talks about the 23-in-1, the, you know, 1 meal a day, eat all in 1 hour. You know, she's saying for the same thing on that, you know, like if you do that, you know, that, you know, try to, you know, you can do the, so if you went into that category and you're now doing the MCT oil in your coffee and your, you know, at lunch like I'm doing, that's, you know, that would be 23-in-1, you know, if you ate just in one meal. But she has a 23-in-1 advanced, which means clean up those, actually, you know what, I think the regular OMAD, I can't scroll over on her video at the moment, and I don't want to look at it while we're on the screen, but I believe the all-in-one is, the number 7 on her range is 23-in-1 OMAD all in 1 hour. I still think that's clean. My apologies on what I just said, but I think that's still clean, so you still got to do that. But the advanced version is like really advanced. It's like you need to do, I believe it in, and watch the video just to make sure I'm saying this correctly. I might have misstated. But you need to do that 1 hour in daylight hours. So like if you know, if it's daylight at 6, because she's saying it follows circadian rhythms. You know, you wake up at 6, you know, and then 11 hours later, well, that would be 5. So she's saying ideally you would like to have that meal by 5. That's a little unrealistic for me and most folks, because, you know, who gets home like at 4 necessarily and can actually get that meal ready and eat it before 5 o'clock. So I don't know how attainable that is, but I still think keeping it clean, you know, if that's where you want to live. And again, this all has to do with where you want to live in this keto, you know, keto lifestyle. Do you want to do some level of fasting? Do you want to just do 16-8? You know, a lot of people are happy with that 2 meals a day, 16-8, and they will continue to lose, and they'll still feel great. They'll, you know, all the benefits and so forth. But then there's, you know, like she said, she sat at like 16-8 for like months, and then, you know, she had to do things to kind of change things up, and then she just, that's what we're talking about, like stressing your body to where you can get the benefits of things like autophagy, which we'll talk about later, not today, and, you know, continued, you know, benefits. she talks also a lot about the importance of not rushing to it. Like, if someone looked at mine, they would say, Chris, you rushed right to it, so you don't have your fat-based hormones, where you need to be, so you're not going to be successful. I would argue, based off of looking at my glucose numbers, my ketones, how I feel, how my body's reacting and all that, the reason I'm going in quicker is because I've been adapted before. My body's, understanding what's going on. I feel like I'm exactly where I need to be. When do I think I'll be at OMAD? Probably not for 2 or 3 weeks, which will put, right about the 5-6 range. My goal is to keep, eating like I am. You're going to see a very similar pattern for the next few days. I'm going to change things up in week 4, just see if I can go without the MCT. So just looking at my notes here, see if there was anything else that I needed to say. As always, good science. I like to mention that. I think she does a really good job of explaining where she needs to be. She tells you also why your glucose can be high in the morning, because your body has that, that burst of cortisol that kind of wakes you up, but it also shoots up your glucose. But it's how you got to get it low, because some people will do keto forever. It seems like they do it forever and they're just like, I still got high glucose. Why? Well, you got to stretch it. You got to get rid of, things. You got to move to the next level if that's something you're trying to break. And I think she's talking a lot about, too, people who are specifically diabetic or really high insulin resistance and stuff like that. All right, that's enough about that. Hopefully you got some value out of that. I really think you'll enjoy it. It might be a little too far for where you might be right now, but just keep it in mind for when you get to that next step. Well, that's it for day 18, folks. Thanks for watching today's video. Please like and subscribe so you can keto with me. If you've got any comments or questions, definitely leave them down below. And just remember, none of us are perfect. Please be a coach, not a critic, and take care.